Okay, with that, I have a big pan, a grate, whatever, to lick the katsu off the pan bottom. I have the marinated katsu here, and it's been marinating for just about 3 hours, okay? And all I'm gonna do is put it on the pan and pour some water. And I've actually heated up some water. I don't think it has to be heated, but I did anyway, just because in the end, I think the way it helps is I think it kind of evaporates in the oven. And so I guess if it's warmer, it kind of evaporates from the beginning. So I heat it up to, whatever, but it doesn't have to be heated. It doesn't have to go in, I don't think. Anyway, the only thing I do here is I try to make sure that, the pork is not touching each other. So sometimes I have too much pork and I need a second container. But let's see how we do here. So all I do is just lay it out. This one is thicker than the other. Ideally, they're similar thicknesses, so that's unfortunate. Probably not going to cook at the same time. So, but let's see how we do here. So the key thing when you're cutting the pork is to try to get it so that you think they'll cook in a similar time. Here's another thick one, which I think is gonna potentially cook longer. So maybe I'll put the two thick ones next to each other so that I know to leave them in a little longer than the other ones, Maybe this one definitely looks nice and big. Okay, looks like, this is definitely was a huge piece of thing. I think I'm going to put the two thick ones on a separate container, a separate pan, so they can cook to a different time. But these, I'll put one. Let's see if I can fit the rest in one little thing. This is definitely more pork than I can. So these will shrink a little bit as they cook. So if you end up with, you don't actually end up with some space, it will create space as it shrinks when it cooks, but I'm going to try to make sure there's a little bit of a gap between each of the pieces, just because I think that'll just cook better in general. So I think I've succeeded. There we go. For the most part, we've got that. I'm going to put this into a 400-degree oven for 40 minutes and then broil for 4 minutes. 440 minutes, broil for 4, but none of that is science. So I start with 40 minutes and typically, it goes until even like an hour. But I look for the temperature to be somewhere around 161. I used to think that the pork had to be 140 something, and that was the most tender, but pork shoulder, I remember it wasn't coming out right. And then I ended up looking it up, and I think I go to like a 161, even to 180, like between 160 and 180. Sometimes I leave it in too long, or by the time I broil it, it jumps to like 180 or something. I mean, it just, I'm not too great on that one. But you'll see my hot water. I'm going to put this in first, and I think I might just cook this later. This is certainly enough to cook for dinner. And maybe I'll just drop the other one in afterwards and cook it again. But let's put this in to the middle. Let's see if we can. There we go. Stick it in the middle rack. Shouldn't have put it all away because I need to pour the water in. And I just, pour it in so it's like, cover the bottom. It has two benefits. One, I do believe that it helps I have found it makes a difference in the cooking, but it also stops the drippings from smoking up as well. I thought I got a double benefit. Now, I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Halfway through, I'm going to flip the chassis over to the other side. Just something I do. So 25 minutes and 15 minutes, or probably it'll end up being 25 by the time the temperature hits where I want it to. And then when that's done, I'm going to just lightly drizzle with honey the top and stick it on the top rack and broil it. But I'll be back for that.